So there are 7 new peer-reviewed human trial studies that are going to change everything you've ever thought about dieting. You can see the headline there, the end of calorie counting. Findings from 7 new peer-reviewed human trial studies make traditional diets obsolete. That's absolutely. Hello, Nicole Fox. That's what we're going to talk about today. And I wrote a book about this called Why Diets Are Failing Us, where I proved that traditional diets simply don't work. And now we've got, hello, Herb Smith. We got people, you can see the headline there, everybody, the end of calorie counting. Kevin, welcome aboard. We're going to discuss today why diets are failing us, because they're failing us miserably. You see all these people on social media giving you all this hype, but not one of them, hello Todd, none of them are showing you any medical proof of what they're talking about. We're now in a position where 80% of America's overweight, 50% are obese, and 50% are pre-diabetic. Does anybody on here really think that diets are working? No matter what diet you go on, you lose weight, you gain it all back. There's a reason for that, and we're going to get into all of that today. The other thing we're going to show you are the 7 new peer-reviewed human trial studies. Look at that. New weight loss protocol discovers weight loss in a week, taking 8 weeks on diets, 30 days, taking 12 months on diets while gaining 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. So this is not an infomercial. This is a live podcast. I'm live. I'm the author of 4 best-selling books. I've done 20 shows on PBS. I've done over 1,500 lectures all over the world. I'm the researcher of the researchers. Let's be clear. I've been doing this for 21 years. And now more than ever, it's apparent that counting calories is one of the most ridiculous things we ever came up with. Now, I don't want you to just believe me. Let's look at Harvard Medical School. Here's a direct quote from their study. They said, stop counting, stop counting calories. The idea of a calorie in, calorie out when it comes to weight loss is not just antiquated, it's just wrong. They said we need to focus on what's in the food, not how much food we're consuming. That's Harvard Medical School. Now let's go to the next big one here, where they talk about why you shouldn't count calories, even though all of you are counting calories. Listen to what they said. Truth is, calorie counting is a terrible approach for weight loss. While counting calories and restricting calories can help you lose weight in the short term, the approach has never been proven to keep weight off long term. What's even worse is 2/3 of people who try to count or restrict their calories will gain back more weight than they lost. Here's what makes us so different than everybody else. We don't give you opinions. We don't make claims. We give you hard medical facts. I'm going to put in the chat for everybody here in just a moment. You can actually go and see the medical proof. We have a site. It's free to go there. We won't even contact you if you go there. You can be assured of that. So let me put it down here in the comments for you. And that website it's all, there you go, the new health conversation. That website is designed solely to show you medical proof, not opinions. That's the thing you're getting with all these other info. They come on and they draw stuff on a whiteboard and they're doing all that. They don't have one shred of medical evidence about what they're talking about. Okay, I'm gonna show you and blow up all the myths. But in the meantime, so in these peer-reviewed studies, it's not a joke. Men and women lost as much weight in 7 days as 8 weeks of any diet any of you have ever been on. They lost as much weight in 30 days as in a year of dieting. They lost no water and lost no, not only did they lose lean muscle, they gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. I know it sounds too good to be true, but it's not too good to be true, because there are 7 peer-reviewed human trial studies. For those who don't understand, a peer-reviewed human trial study, there's nothing higher you can find in medicine, okay? And if you go to that website, the New Health Conversation, you can see everything there. As a matter of fact, I'll show you the website right now, so you'll see there's nothing there to buy, not my books. The only thing there is the medical proof. And if you go there and you like what you see, you can actually sign up for a free personal consultation with one of our coaches. It's not a joke. It's not like we're going to try and bait and switch you. We're not selling you. We don't have to convince you. We're going to educate you. Because what we're teaching people to do is exactly what they did in these medical trials. I promise I'll get into that in just a moment. But before I do that, I want to emphasize more about why diets are failing us. Whoops, that's upside down. Sorry. Why diets are failing us. It's a lot more than just what you think. First of all, let's start with the basic concept behind all diets, and that's counting calories. Well, that's kind of strange because the human body doesn't even know what a calorie is. Why are you counting calories? The reason that diets fail is real simple. The body has a minimum amount of nutrition that it runs on, not calories, okay? All a calorie is a measurement. It's the amount of heat it takes to raise a gram of water 1 degree Celsius. That's it. So what the body does at the minimum level, that runs enough nutrition to run the brain, the kidney, the liver, the heart, etc. So when you go on a diet, what do? You lower the amount of food you're consuming. What else are you lowering? The amount of nutrition. And when the brain senses there's not enough nutrition, because the brain's determining, allocating this to the heart, the lung, the kidney, etc. What does the body do? The brain has to shut down fat burning and immediately turn to your muscles for fuel. But that's not the worst part. There are two really unhealthy things that are happening in all these diets when you're losing lean muscle. Number one, yeah, it slows down your metabolism. You can't burn as many calories. You come off the diet, you get everything. So they're not telling you that with the intermittent fasting and all this nonsense. It's nonsense. They don't have one shred of medical evidence, and the medical evidence is so damning when I read it to you, you're going to be shocked, okay? But this is the difference. You either believe in science or you believe in opinions. And with all due respect to all the people on social media that I see, I haven't seen one that's showing you one shred of medical evidence. They're making a lot of claims with no evidence, okay? So what we do, we only show you medical proof. We don't give you opinions. Opinions shouldn't and don't mean anything to anybody, okay? So the point is that what they did, the researchers, they figured out that after they'd done 38 years of research, over 150 studies, thousands and thousands of people. And what they discovered, or what they proved, was that on every diet, every time, people lost weight. But it was always the wrong kind of weight, because 40% of what they were losing was lean muscle. Therefore, the people couldn't burn as many calories. Therefore, everybody on every diet ended up losing more weight than they lost. These diets, they just don't work. Diets do not work. And the difference with us, we're not giving you opinions. We're not making claims. We're the researchers. It's our original research work. We've written 4 best-selling books. I've written them all with MDs, medical doctors. I'm not an MD. I'm the researcher of the researchers. Please be clear. I'm the researcher who did the research. And all of you have this amazing opportunity to learn if you want. You don't have to. I mean, you can rely on the people with the whiteboards and the nice smiles and all that kind of stuff. Oh, yeah, you can lose 20 pounds on this. No, you can't. There's no evidence of that. And even if you lose 20 pounds, you're going to, according to the studies, they just said that while counting calories and restricting calories can help you lose weight in the short term, the approach has never been proven to keep weight off long term. What's even worse is 2/3 of people who try to count or restrict their calories will gain back more weight than they lost. I mean, let's look at New England Journal of Medicine, a 12-month study. One group of people just lowered calories. The other group did this intermittent fasting where you don't eat for 16 hours, you eat for 8. At the end of 12 months, those people that lowered calories, this is New England Journal of Medicine, not my opinion. We wrote about it in my book, okay? The people who did calorie restriction in 12 months lost on average 16 pounds in a year. That's a year, ladies and gentlemen. Those who did intermittent fasting, time-restricted eating, they only lost 12.6 pounds in a year. And it said both those who did calorie restriction and those doing intermittent fasting lost up to 40% of their lean muscle mass. There's your Achilles heel to every diet out there. I don't care what you think. The medical proof is there proving that when we're going on a diet, you're doomed. You are going to lose lean muscle and you're going to gain at least as much as you lost or more. That's the yo-yo effect. Do you think that was just by accident that that's happening? Most people blame themselves. Say, well, the paleo diet didn't work, so I'm going to try keto. I'm going to do Mediterranean. I'm going to do the zone diet, the lose weight for your blood type, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, on and on and on. Go to Barnes & Noble. You'll see racks of diets. But what's the reality? What's the scientific reality? 80% of Americans are overweight, 50% are obese, and 50% are pre-diabetic. Does anyone think that's working? Really? Is that working? And then I got a big report here from Johns Hopkins Medical School. Study predicts, listen to this, this is Johns Hopkins Medical School, not an opinion. Study predicts obesity apocalypse by 2030. They say if the current trend continues, 86% of Americans could be overweight or obese by 2030 in less than 6 years. What diet are you going on that you think works? I'd love for anybody to put it in the chat. And again, the problem, the challenge, now let me be honest. I've been doing this 21 years. I've been a nutritional researcher. For 20 of those 21 years, despite writing 4 best-selling books, appearing on PBS 20 times, 1,500 lectures all over the world, the medical community meant zero. No medical doctors on board. Since these peer-reviewed human trial studies got published about 14 months ago, or over the last 14 months, we got doctors coming out of the woodwork joining us because they know that a peer-reviewed human trial study has already been reviewed by the top medical doctors and researchers in the world. It's the only one, and it's completely new. It's not a company. It's not like Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem. The research, they don't sell anything. They don't have any food to offer you, but they put together the lists. See, what they did was 40% of the people, hello, Natalie's Magic. What we're talking about is this new protocol and why diets are failing us. You can read the headline, The End of Calorie Counting, finding 7 new peer-reviewed human trial studies that'll make every diet obsolete. It's not a joke. It's not just a title. Because men and women in these new studies lost as much weight in 7 days as 8 weeks of any diet. They lost as much weight in 30 days as a year in any diet, lost no water, and gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass, by the way, with no exercise. Most women, for example, Natalie, lose a whole dress size in 7 days. And it's backed by 7 peer-reviewed human trial studies. No other diet has ever been analyzed at that level. But this isn't even a diet. It's completely different. But I mean, any of you can put in the chat, how excited would you be, Natalie, or Climb the Mountain, or User 398? Imagine you can lose as much weight safely in 7 days as 8 weeks of any diet. Lose as much weight in a month. Now, there were people here that needed to lose 150 pounds. It wasn't just that it was a month or 2 months or whatever. They kept going. But here's the other thing. 3 years later, because the studies, peer-reviewed studies, take a long time. They were started 3 years ago. They've been monitoring the people 3 years later. Whatever they've lost, they maintained it. They have not gained the weight back. The researchers call this R2M. What does it stand for? Race to maintenance. So I'd love for any of you to put in the chat, what is it? Okay, I'm going to explain it to you right now. So let me give you just a little bit of background. So the people who created this new protocol are scientists. They're researchers. They're not a company, okay? But they've done 38 years of research, over 150 studies, thousands of people on every diet out there. And what they proved on all 150 diets was people lost weight. What didn't matter if it was paleo, keto, Mediterranean, whatever. But in every case, the weight people were losing, 40% was lean muscle. And every person, every time, gained back all their weight and more. So what they figured out was what wasn't working. What wasn't working was and the problem is that people still think counting calories works. It's nonsense. It doesn't work. I've got Harvard Medical School. I got other studies saying stop counting calories. It's antiquated and it just is wrong, all right? So the research is what happens on a diet is you lower the amount of food you're consuming. I don't care what the name you want to put on the diet. At the same time, what you're doing, you're lowering nutrition. So the researchers knew this. So they said, wait a minute, is it possible to give people less food but keep a maximum amount of nutrition? They didn't know if it was possible. So you were asking me, what did they do? This is what they did. They created a grocery list, fats, carbs, proteins, etc., that you would take to the grocery store, but only 40% of what you would consume. Very important. Why? Because our food in this country is all but nutritionally bankrupt. So now you're lowering the quantity of the food that already is nutritionally bankrupt, and now you have even less nutrition. The body goes in starvation mode and turns your muscles for fuel. That's what's going on in every diet. And there's no diet out there where this is not happening, okay? Now, the next thing that they did, they said, okay, we have 40% of the food for the United States. Then they found food, they didn't, but other people had found food sources from around the world that the researchers went to. These are foods that came from Russia, Mongolia, Manchuria, Tibet in the Himalayas, South America, New Zealand, that had massive amounts of nutrition, but not massive amounts of calories. So now they had the ingredients, 40% from the grocery store and 60% from these foods from around the world. And then they created 2 completely different ways of consuming food. But let me go back for one moment. What they said they created, if we imagine a plate, we imagine a meal, they said effectively those 5 foods with no other food from the grocery store represented the world's most first perfect meal from a nutritional standpoint of view, okay? So what they did, they broke the weeks into 5 days. They did what's called protein pacing. What was that? They had people have, in essence, the world's most perfect meal for breakfast. Lunch from the grocery store, dinner from the grocery store, and then a 4th meal, not dessert. After dinner, they had another one of the world's most perfect meals, 5 days a week. 2 days a week, they did something called intermittent nutritional fasting, not time-restricted eating, nothing to do with any of that. On those days, no food from the grocery store and just these foods that made up the world's most perfect food, okay? So that's what they were ingesting was 40% of foods from the grocery store, 60% from these food sources around the world, and then they had them do protein pacing 5 days a week, and 2 days a week they did intermittent nutritional fasting. The program itself was called R2M Race to Maintenance because they had people that needed to lose 150 pounds. But People, men and women with no exercise allowed, lost no water, and lost as much weight in 30 days as a year on any diet. It's not a sales gimmick up there. This is not a infomercial. This is a podcast with real medical proof. We've also provided down. Yeah, that's the worst thing you're absolutely doing for yourself. Okay, let me give you the medical proof of intermittent fasting. Okay, this is New England Journal of Medicine. They did a 12-month study on intermittent fasting. Okay, one group of people they had to just lowering calories, and the other group of people did intermittent fasting for a year, for 12 months. The people doing this is right from the New England Journal of Medicine. I'm not making this up. In 12 months, those lowering calories lost in a year 16 pounds. The people who did intermittent fasting lost a pitiful 12.6 pounds in a year. And right in the study, it said those doing calorie restriction and those doing time-restricted eating lost up to 40% of their lean muscle mass. Another study, shorter, Journal of the American Medical Association, in the last few months, they had a group of people who just did intermittent fasting, what you're doing, okay? I'm reading from the study. This is from the Journal of the American Medical Association. See, not somebody on the internet giving you an opinion, okay, with no medical proof. Let's look at the medical proof, okay? Journal of the American Medical Association, this was a 3-month study. They said, right from the quote, the people who did intermittent fasting for 3 months gained almost no benefit from it and lost an average of 2 to 3.5 pounds in 3 months. And the majority of what they lost was not fat, but lean muscle mass. Whatever they're telling you, it's not truthful. What you're losing if you're losing weight on that, you're losing your lean muscle mass, whether you want to believe it or not. You come off that thing, you will be stunned at how fast you're going to gain that weight back. Sorry to tell you that. I'm a scientist. I don't have any opinions. I just give you medical facts. If you want opinions, you can go to the people that probably turned you on to intermittent fasting. No diet works. We have 80% of them, and the researchers who created this, they had for 38 years done 150 studies, including intermittent fasting, and they proved it doesn't work long term. That's the only thing that should matter to any of us. It's nonsense. To not eat from 8 o'clock at night until noon the next day, you in the morning will start to burn your muscles for fuel, period, end of the story. Nonsense, backed up by medical proof, not opinions. If you want an opinion, you came to the wrong podcast. We don't give you opinions. And that website that you can go there, yeah, 12 noon or 1. That's even worse. And again, I don't mean to disparage you. Greenlaw, Greenlew. Peter, you can see it right. I'll move my head. Whoops, sorry. Which way? Okay. There, you can spell my name, okay? I've written 4 best-selling books with medical doctors and discovered this medical syndrome. We're going to talk about that in a moment. TDOS, and this book, Not a Trick Title, Your Third Brain, which I wrote with the top oncologist in the world, who's also a molecular biologist, who's worked with 2 men who won the Nobel Prize in medicine. I mean, we are giving you real medical proof. There's no reason not to do that. We've provided that free. Look, I'm happy for you if that's the case. But I promise you, the minute you stop, you wait and see how much those numbers reverse the other way. Okay, but here's what you're not doing. Every one of us, including you, climb the mountain. Okay, we all have this. It's called the TDOS syndrome. The T is for toxicity, the D is for deficiency, the O is for being over, the S is for stress. It's a registered trademark U.S. Patent Office. What does that mean? It means to get a registered trademark in the medical field, you submit your theories. They then search the world trying to find something that's similar. If there is something similar, they won't grant you the little R, the registered trademark. I discovered this. Every person, including you and me, has it. What does it mean? It means that we're storing chemicals inside our fat cells. Intermittent fasting, no impact whatsoever, nor any other diet until now. These researchers proved through blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis, this was removing herbicides and pesticides and Scotchgard and Teflon from our bodies. No diet even touches that. But let's go a little bit deeper just so you understand the main reason to do this protocol is not to lose weight. As a matter of fact, I'm happy for you. Apparently you did, maybe 3 months, my muscle mass has increased from doctor scanning me. I changed my type. Okay, let me just, you'll understand. The Endocrine Society, the largest organization of experts devoted to research on hormones and the clinical practice of endocrinology, reports the rise in incidence of obesity matches the rise in distribution of industrial chemicals. These chemicals have a name. They're called obesogens. Simply put, obesogens are chemicals that disrupt the function of our hormonal system, leading to weight gain and many of the diseases that curse the American populace. They enter our body from a variety of sources, from compounds in soy, hormones fed to animals, plastic pollutants in food packaging, chemicals in processed food, and pesticides sprayed on produce. They act in a variety of ways, mimicking human hormones such as estrogen, blocking the action of other hormones such as testosterone, and essentially reprogram us to gain weight. So what are you doing about obesogens that you're storing inside your body? Because intermittent fasting has no impact. I'm happy for you. This seems to be working short term. But here's what I'm trying to tell you right here. In this big study, you shouldn't count calories. Truth is, calorie counting is a terrible approach for weight loss. While counting calories and restricting calories can help you lose weight in the short term, the approach has never been proven to keep weight off long term. What's worse is 2/3 of people who try to count or restrict their calories gain more weight than they lost. That's all intermittent, that's all it is. You're not eating for 16 hours and you're eating for 8. You're consuming less food. That's what it boils down to. You don't have to believe me. I mean, I'm happy for you that that's happened. But the fundamental underpinning of all this is that we're storing these chemicals inside our bodies. My God, we have 80% of America overweight, 50% obese, 50% pre-diabetic. Do you know that diabetics in this study, in 30 days, their blood sugar came down 10 points? And what I guarantee, when you measured your diabetes, I guarantee your insulin went up, because that's been every study out there. Insulin, in this case, came down 41% in 30 days. People shrank their visceral, that's the belly fat, by 33% in 8 weeks with no exercise. There's nothing comparable to this on the planet. And I'm really happy. I'm not being facetious. I'm very happy for you. But the chances of you weighing less a year from now are next to, well, a third, about 30%. Again, I'm really, really happy for you, right? Okay, let's blow up protein for you, okay? Dr. Benjamin Brickman says different. Spelling is off. Sorry, my insulin went down. Dr. Brickman. What is Dr. Brickman saying? Does he have, number one, does Dr. Brickman have any peer-reviewed human trial studies? If he doesn't, it means nothing in the medical world, and I did that for 20 out of 21 years. There was no proof without the peer-reviewed human trial studies, okay? If this is working for you, then keep doing it. Great, wonderful. I'm not going to talk you out of it, but I'm just presenting the medical proof. Think about it. And John Hopkins has just come out and said by 2030, in less than 6 years, if the current trend continues, 86% of Americans will be overweight or obese. I guess you'll be part of the 14%, maybe, but we'll see where you are in a year. And again, Dr. Brickman, I'm sorry, I don't know him, so I can't really comment, but what's he saying? The spelling is off, sorry. Oh, for Brickman, you mean? Oh, is it B-R-I-C-K? I don't know. Yeah, but did your insulin go down 41% in 30 days? I mean, what are you doing about toxins? What are you doing about the obesogen just storing in your body? What are you pretending that it's not happening? The PBDs and the PFOAs and all the other things that we have, we're storing this stuff in our body. It's not up for debate. That's what's going on. And what you're doing has never been proven to remove a gram of toxin from our body. Do you know doing this, the least important part is but here's something else you didn't do. In these studies, for the first time in 38 years, inflammation went down 25% in 30 days. So your intermittent fasting had no impact on that. None, zero. They compared this to the Mediterranean diet, which has been the #1 diet 7 years in a row by U.S. News and World Report. In 8 months, people on the on the Mediterranean lost 10.2 pounds in 8 months. And a year later, they've gained it all back. I hope it works for you. I'm not trying to be silly. I mean, seriously, I am. I mean, I'm not trying to be silly. That's what I meant. I'm sorry. And I appreciate it. And I also drink. Okay, well, first of all, again, GLP-1s. Let's talk about those as long as you're bringing that up. So GLP-1s, again, New England Journal of Medicine, 68-week study on, in this case, semaglutide. It wouldn't matter if it was Ozempic, semaglutide, Triacetic, whatever. 68 weeks, the average weight loss was 32 pounds in 68 weeks. And right in the study, 40% of what they lost was lean muscle mass, period. These people gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass with no exercise in 8 weeks. You show me anything on the planet like that. I mean, we have people literally losing as much weight in 4 days as 8 weeks of any diet you've ever been on. But they're not losing water weight, and they're gaining lean muscle. And if those numbers are correct, that's wonderful, but you're an anomaly. That's not what's happening to normal people. Look, I only rely on science. I'm not giving you my opinion. My opinion shouldn't matter to anybody. And if you go to the website, I'm going to put it up there again for everybody. Hold on. Okay, how much is it? So I would tell you this, your total food budget now, 40% you'd buy from the grocery store with a recommended food list. The other 60% from these foods have nutrition you can't get from any food in this country at those levels. People tell me basically they're spending about the same amount of money as they're spending now with food that's nutritionally bankrupt. One of the things you're the most deficient in, for example, even doing what you're doing, are what are called trace ionic minerals, okay? The experts say we need 70 of them. In the best organic food you're consuming right now, you're getting 20. Now, what are trace ionic minerals? They're not just iron, calcium, magnesium. Those aren't trace minerals. But they're things like gold and silver and zinc, believe it or not, arsenic, beryllium, boron, molybdenum. We need 70, you're getting 20. The researchers found a source that had all 70 minerals. Now, let's talk about protein for a second. One of the most misguided things about protein. So you're told probably now you're ingesting protein. Like let's say it's 120 grams of protein a day, so you think you're getting 120 grams of protein. Nonsense, okay? Here's the reality. In Europe, they developed a new test. It's called net nitrogen utilization. What the heck does that mean? It means when you ingest a protein, which contains 20 amino acids, 9 essential, which we have to have, and 11 non-essential, they were able to measure through blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis what percentage of the amino acids were being used by the body. So let's look at the numbers. When they analyzed plant-based proteins, remember, they don't have anything to do with any product. These are researchers in Europe. They found that plant-based protein had an absorption of the 20 amino acids of 10%. Now, what you're doing as far as steak, chicken, liver, fish, whatever you're consuming, 30% absorption. These researchers found a source of protein where the absorption was 91%. That's why the people weren't allowed to exercise, because one of those essential amino acids called leucine, you can look it up, maybe you know this, is the way you build muscle in your body. I don't care how much resistance training, lifting weights, without leucine, you're not going to make much muscle at all. So imagine these men and women were not allowed to exercise and gained 6 to 9% lean muscle because they were getting 91% of leucine. The other thing that they found a source of natural vitamins. See, 90% of all vitamins on the market today are made in a laboratory. They're synthetic. And up until recently, that was really the only option because of shelf life. Well, these researchers found this new source where they had all natural vitamins. So that's how they were able to form this world's most perfect food. One other thing that they found, and they added to make the world's most perfect meal, were what are called adaptogens. Maybe you've heard of them. Adaptogens come from Manchuria and Mongolia in Russia. And the East Germans and the Russians used them back in the 60s when they were kicking our butts in track and field. Literally, their athletes could run 100 meters, come back, rest like 10 minutes, and then run a 220. What does an adaptogen do? It massively lowers stress and inflammation in the body. We have the medical proof. Inflammation went down 25% in 30 days. No other diet has ever reduced inflammation, period, in 38 years of research. That's why this is not a weight loss program. That's like a default almost. That's like a joke for us. It's all these other, and blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides, all came down to 30 days, not 30 weeks. And for all of you, you can do whatever you want to do. There's plenty of influences out there. I see them writing on their whiteboards and telling you about intermittent fasting and you can lose 20 pounds, etc. Where's the medical proof? Because the medical proof says that intermittent fasting is one of the most unhealthy things you could ever do by not eating for 16 hours and eating for 8. Because your body needs fuel over a constant period of time. And when you wake up in the morning, see what happens to all of us when we go to sleep. The minute we suspend, which the body does when we go to sleep, slows down or stops digestion, the body then automatically turns on a natural detox mechanism. It's called autophagy. It's when the body gets rid of the dead cells. Well, in order to do that, it takes tremendous amount of fuel. So when you wake up in the morning, you're completely depleted, you're bankrupt of nutrition, your body, the brain won't allow you not to have nutrition. It'll convert your muscles into carbohydrates. That's the reality of what's going on. Journal of American Medical Association, they measured it. The people on the intermittent fasting, the majority of what they lost was not lean muscle. Was not fat, was lean muscle. Those are the realities. If it worked for you, great. But that's not the medical proof. And whether it's Dr. Brinkman or whoever it is, unless they can show me peer-reviewed human trials done on human beings, it's all white noise, nonsense. The medical community will never look at it. You have to understand, the people who created this are the top diet, nutrition, and physiologists in the world for 38 years. They created this. They don't sell anything. They don't have any products for sale. They were scientists figuring out, hey, the numbers are going through the roof as far as overweight and obesity. I just read to you, I mean, the Johns Hopkins Medical School is saying in less than 6 years, 86% of Americans are going to be overweight or obese. We now have 50% of Americans pre-diabetic. Thank goodness your diabetes has improved. But it's not the long-term solution. I'm sorry. You can believe and think whatever. What are you doing about removing the toxin from your body? What are you doing? Any of you, I'm talking in general. I'm not just talking to one person. But the point is that let's see. Yes, I'm not sure what yes means. How much is it? So again, climb the mountain. I'm trying to, now look, the other thing for all of you, including Climb the Mountain, you can go to that website. I'll put it up there again for all of you. You can see the medical proof. There's nothing to buy there. As a matter of fact, I'll show you all the website. Here's the website right here. My books aren't for sale. There's no celebrity endorsements. It's just the medical proof, okay? Medical proof with the peer-reviewed human trial studies. You can see right there, number 3. You can actually click on there and you can see the actual studies that were done in some of the biggest medical journals in the world, the Obesity Journal, Nutrients, I can't remember all 6 of them, 7 of them, I'm sorry. They're all there for you to see. So the point is that unless you're dealing with this, whatever you're doing is almost a waste of time because you're going to continue to store these chemicals inside your fat cells. And no diet, no anything has ever been proven up until now to remove through blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis to remove the chemicals, right? Wait a minute. If you're talking about Dr. Brickman, he's talking actually about adaptogens. Now I get it. Yeah, I know exactly who it is. I did a big write-up. He's one of my books. As a matter of fact, let's see if I can even find it here, the quote from him. Let's see. Dr. Brickman, let's see. I'm going to try and find it. I think that's who we're talking about here. So you may have misspelled it, but I'm pretty sure that's who. It didn't ring with me right away. Sorry. Let me look this up for you. Nutrient. Overweight. Just because I want to find it right now, I probably can't. How to create, okay, here we go. Let's see. Micronutrients. Okay, hold on just a second. Well, anyway, I'm pretty sure it's Dr. Brickman who was kind of the father of what are called adaptogens, but they came from Mongolia and Manchuria, so they're all part of this thing. So if you're taking adaptogens, good for you, but you have to understand it's not just about the adaptogens, it's the interconnectivity to form the world's most perfect meal. And whatever you're eating, doing intermittent fasting is not this. Where are you getting 70 minerals? You're not. Where are you getting a 91% absorption of amino acids? You're not. Where are you getting it? Well, maybe you are getting adaptogens. And then where are you getting natural vitamins? You're not. See, it's all about maximizing your quality of life potential. I congratulate you. It looks like you've taken control and your health is better than it was. But I would say to you with all due respect, you have no idea actually how bad you actually do feel right now compared to how good you could feel. And if any of these diets worked, you couldn't have 80% of America overweight and 50% obese, right? So, yeah, well, this is not Climb the Mountain. I think we're in violent agreement. I really do. And understand Climb the Mountain. I want to help as many people as I can, right? My own story is 21 years ago, walking my doctor's office, and he said, if you don't do something radically different today, you've got about 18 months to live. My heart attack risk was 85% out of 100. I was 40 pounds overweight. I had a cholesterol of 400, triglycerides in the 300s. He put me on diet, exercise, and Lipitor initially for the first 8 weeks. I lost 8 pounds, but my cholesterol only came down 15 pounds. And a friend of mine who played professional football with the Oakland Raiders turned me on to the early version of this, which has completely changed over the last 25 years. Let's say I started 21 years ago. Anyway, to make a long story short, I lost 8 pounds in 4 days, 12 pounds in 9 days, 20 pounds in 18 days, 30 pounds in 30 days, 40 pounds in 7 weeks. Went back to my doctor for follow-up. And he came in and said, "Are you trying to kill yourself?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "How much Lipitor are taken? To your point, climb the mountain." And he said, don't, he said, "The lab made a mistake. Climb the mountain. My cholesterol went from 400 to 120. My triglycerides went from 300 to 30. I lost 40 pounds, and my heart attack risk dropped from 85 to 15. That was, and I lost 40 pounds 21 years ago. I've kept it off for 21 years. So don't confuse my passion for anything other than that, because the science doesn't care about me. It doesn't care about my glasses or my tie or any of you that are probably judging me right now. It's okay. I don't mind, because science, unlike me, has no emotions. It has no guidelines. So again, climb the mountain. When you go to the website, that New Health Conversation, please look at everything there first. And then at the bottom, scroll down and say, schedule a free personal consultation with one of our coaches. I really mean it's free. We're not going to bait and switch you. We're not going to try to convince you or sell you. We let the medical studies do the walking. So hopefully that is of interest to you, right? So Mandeling, so any of your others that are on here, if you'd like to put a question or comment, I'm live. I mean, I am also alive. I'm not AI. And I am the author of 4 best-selling books, and I did 20 shows on, I'm not trying to brag, I'm just telling you the facts. 20 shows on PBS. I was interviewed on the 4 biggest daytime shows in America. I've done over 1,500 lectures all over the world, including in China. I've worked with some of the top medical doctors, oncologists, molecular biologists, geneticists, nutraceutical chemists, and nutraceutical researchers in the world, and the top physiologists. They're the ones that created this, not me. I have nothing to do with it. They put it together based on 38 years of figuring out what didn't work. What didn't work was any of these diets long term, okay? No, thank you, Climb the Mountain. I really appreciate you for being open. And I promise you, Climb the Mountain, if you go there, we're not in the business of trying to convince you or sell you. We want to educate you. And it sounds like you're very concerned about taking your health to the next level. Well, imagine if you could go from where you are now even faster. But also the key is Climb the Mountain is to maintain it. It doesn't do any good to lose the weight or drop your, not that that's not good, your A1C or whatever went down. Only thing that matters is, can you maintain it for the rest of your life? Not for a few weeks, not for a few months. Like in my case, 21 years. I just spoke at a huge medical conference at University of California, Berkeley in California. Just flew back actually yesterday. 100 doctors, top doctors. They all came up to me and said, you know, the biggest challenge for all of us now is something called metabolic syndrome. What does it mean? Well, they call it metabolic dysfunction. That's a fancy name. If you have 3 of these 5 factors, any of you, if you're overweight, high blood pressure, high blood sugar, high cholesterol, high triglycerides, the CDC now says 92% of you have metabolic syndrome. In the studies, in the first 30 days, all 5 of those factors came down dramatically just in 30 days. The main reason to do this, again, is to detoxify your body. That's the number one thing, to improve those. And by the way, the weight loss, which will be based on the studies, 12 times faster than any diet you've ever been on. Instead of losing lean muscle, gain 6 to 9% lean muscle mass. Hopefully that interests some of you. And Climb the Mountain, I really mean it. I really would, you know what, Climb the Mountain, if you want, when you go there and you register under the comment section, say that I said, I want to do a personal consultation with Peter, because I would love your feedback after you get to look at the medical proof. And then I promise I'll answer all your questions, free, et cetera. Now, I won't necessarily be your personal coach because I'm kind of busy. I'm doing 3 or 4 of these podcasts a day, but I'm very intrigued and really appreciative of your being open to the fact that maybe there's something that could take you to a different level. I mean, who doesn't want to maximize their quality of life potential? Who doesn't want to do that? Our health is our wealth. Nothing matters as much as and what we're not on our own fault, but we're squandering it. We've got these massive amounts of calories with no nutrition. Do you know Cornell University, for all of you, did a study on spinach from 1953 to today, measuring the iron levels in spinach? They estimate they've decreased, you ready for this, by 4,300%. That would mean one bowl of spinach in 1953 today to equal the nutrition. You'd have to eat about 40 bowls of spinach, and you wonder why you're never full. You wonder why you're never hungry. Because your body doesn't know what a calorie is. Why are you counting calories? Only thing your body cares about is nutrition. And you can't rely on regular food from even if it's organic. And I do eat organic, not because it's more nutritious, but because it's less polluted, less herbicides and pesticides. But it still has 25% of the herbicides and pesticides, where these researchers, the 5 foods they found, no herbicides, no pesticides, at least in these areas of the world for now. Maybe that's going to happen someday, but I don't care. I care about today and tomorrow and next week. You all have this amazing opportunity to do what? To hit the reset button, to hit the do-over button, moving forward in your life. Do you really think you're as fit and thin and healthy and less brain fog and less stress, sleeping better at night? Do you really think you're and see, good enough will never be good. Didn't we learn anything in the last 5 years? You think good enough is good enough? When you're going on a diet and when you're losing lean muscle mass and it's slowing down your own immune system. This isn't a theory. This is what's going on. So, Mandling or user 398 or any of it, would you like to ask me a question? Oh, this helps tremendously with low T. As a matter of fact, Johnny Guitar, in one of the medical studies, in the first 11 days, testosterone increased in men by 25%. It's not a drug. It's our body responding. Now, here's the thing you should know. What about Johnny Guitar? That we know, for example, that one of the things we're ingesting in our bodies are plastics. Maybe you all saw the thing. 8 weeks ago, a cup of Starbucks coffee has between 50 and 100,000 microplastics. Now, the thing about plastic that you have to worry about, I'm going to show you right here, is it's what makes the card bend. Those are called phthalates, okay? Well, from 1990 until today, the sperm count of men in North America has decreased by 50%. 50. There was no thing like low T and all this like, 15, 20 years ago. But it's become cumulative now. And what we're doing is inadvertently, like, everybody, and I'm not going to get political. All I'm telling you is paper straws, guess what they're lined with? Plastic. So see, if you took a paper cup with no plastic on the inside and poured hot liquid, well, you know what happens when you take paper and, it disintegrates basically. So they have to line, every canned goods lined with plastic. And bottled water, which, well, it has between 100 and 150,000 microplastics in every bottled water, and especially the ones that kind of crinkle. Oh my gosh, avoid those at all costs. Look, does anyone think we've got 50% of Americans pre-diabetic right now? What? 80% overweight, 50% obese. And I'm going to go back and repeat it again. This is Johns Hopkins Medical School. Study predicts obesity apocalypse, their words, not mine, by 2030, in less than 6 years. Where they're saying, if the current trend continues, 86% of Americans are going to be overweight or obese by 2030. Now, wait a minute. Go to Barnes & Noble. Don't we have shelves and shelves of diets? How could we be in this apocalypse? They're saying that obesity is the biggest threat to mankind ever. Think about it. If we're going to have 86% of Americans didn't get COVID. Think how big, worldwide, listen to this. The Lancet, I want to read from my book so I get it right. They did a 12-month study. I'm sorry, they just finished the study actually in March of 2024, but they started it about a year ago. They now say 1 billion people worldwide are clinically obese, not overweight, clinically obese, and they go on to say making obesity the leading form of malnutrition in the world. The leading form of malnutrition is obesity. Do you see how upside down this is? And you're going to go on a diet and you're going to lower the amount of food you're consuming and completely ignore the nutrition? Good luck. Because what are all the medical studies saying? Yes, you can lose weight on the Dunkin' Donut diet. I'm not making it up. But up to 40% of what you're losing is your lean muscle mass. That's why you gain all the weight back. On this, men in the first 7 days lost between 2 and 6 inches off their waist. I lost 8 inches when I did it 21 years. I lost 8 inches off my waist in 18 days. I went from a 42 to a 34 inch, which I still am today. Here's my problem. There's nothing to compare it to. There's no equivalency. Because again, the main reason to do it is not to lose the weight. That's a given. They did blood in the studies. They did blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis and proved that this was assisting it's the body that's detoxifying us, because every night when you go to sleep, once you fall asleep, your body suspends digestion, or all but suspends it, and turns on the detox mechanism called autophagy when the body gets rid of the dead cells. It happens every single night. Well, the researchers figured out a way to essentially create autophagy when we're awake. It's called intermittent nutritional fasting, not intermittent fasting, not time-restricted eating, nothing to do with any of that stuff, which are, when you compare the results, they're not even in the same zip code. My God, so they were published in 7 of the biggest medical journals in the world. One is called Nature Communications. It's the #1 medical journal in the world. It had nothing to do with weight loss. It had to do with, we wrote this book called Your Third Brain. I wrote it with the top oncologist in the world, who's a molecular biologist. We wrote it about the microbiome that many of you are finding out about today. Well, in the studies, nothing to do with us, they saw results in the microbiome in 30 days that astounded it's published in the biggest medical journal in the world. You can go read it. It's actually on our website. If you go there, you can go to Nature Communications, and you can read the study. When you see what it did for our gut, it's unreal. Nothing has ever produced anything like that. That's why I keep saying it's not about a diet. It's not about fitting in your skinny jeans. It's about maximizing your quality of life potential. What is your microbiome? It's essentially, it's our immune system inside our gut. Hello? Do you think that's important? Better than just fitting in your skinny jeans? That's up to you. Look, I know you're skeptical. I know it's so hard to believe that anything like this exists, right? Mandelight, we use part of their stuff and a lot of other things like we do. It's completely different. We don't do anything like what they do it. Sorry, it's not even in the same zip code. So they supply some of what the people consume, but the how to consume is completely different. It's just radically different, okay? Yeah, Johnny Guitar. Things in the grocery store are wrapped with plastic. Absolutely. That's why, for example, microwaving things in plastic, no, you don't want to be doing that, but people do it anyway. We always joke and we say the best thing about a microwave oven is make sure you don't turn it on and basically use it to tell time or to hang your coat on or something. But, in Russia, they're basically banned microwave ovens because they were creating carcinogenic reactions when people microwave food. Now, maybe it was because they couldn't make enough microwaves. I don't know, but it's not a myth. That was an article. It was about 10 years ago or something like that. We're living in an unbelievably toxic world. And the thing that's so exciting is the fact, like I said, this medical syndrome, TDOS, which you have and I have and everybody in the world, is the main reason to do this. It's not about losing weight. It's not a weight loss protocol, okay? And what I'm saying is that when you look at the results, if you go and look at the medical, and I'll show you the website for everyone just to show you, there's nothing to buy there. There's not my books, not any opinions. It's just the medical proof about this protocol, which was, like I said, was a combination of 5 foods plus regular food, but in a very specific way to consume it, And men and women lost as much weight in 7 days as 8 weeks of any diet, lost as much weight in 30 days, just like the headline says. It's not something we made up. That's for real. That's really what's going on. So does anybody, yeah, I'm going to go, but maybe another 10 or 11 minutes, and I'm happy to answer any questions or comments. In addition, let me see if I missed anybody, because sometimes I get so many comments on here that I'm unable to answer all the questions. So let's just see. Let's see. Okay, doctor scanning, healthy protein, phenomenal, Dr. Minch. I think I covered everybody up to this point. So in review, we were talking about my best-selling book, Why Diets Are Failing Us, which came out in 2010, 14 years ago. There's been 2 or 3 updates, and my premise was simple. Instead of counting calories, we need to make every calorie count. And there's not a diet out there. And see, that's the problem. The human body doesn't know what a calorie is. It's a measurement. It's the amount of heat it takes to raise a gram of water 1 degree Celsius. Now, let me explain something else to everyone else. I've referred several times to peer-reviewed human trial studies, okay? This protocol, which is called R2M, is the only one in the world that's ever been, like, from scratch, submitted to do peer-reviewed studies. When I quote to you, like, from, let's say, the New England Journal of Medicine, they did the study, but not the people doing caloric. They had 2 groups of people. One did calorie restriction. The other one did time-restricted eating, where you don't eat for 16 hours and eat for 8. So they did the analysis, not the people that created intermittent fasting, okay? What they found after 12 months, now this is New England Journal of Medicine. I don't have anything to do with it. I'm not giving you an opinion. I'm just telling you what the studies, what they found. After 12 months, those people lowering calories lost in a year 16 pounds. Those people doing time-restricted eating lost 12.6 pounds in a year, and they said both those restricting calories and those doing time-restricted eating, the weight loss they lost up to 40% was lean muscle mass. But let's go a little deeper. There's another study here. This one is this one was done in the Journal of the Journal of American Medical Association, 12-month study. But this time, listen to this, it was a study of 48 different studies. And they listed all the diets you're probably on. Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem, Paleo, Keto, time-restricted eating, fasting, the Cornish diet, the zone diet, lose weight for your blood type, again, and even more. They did a 12-month study comparing the weight loss results across the board on all these 48 different studies, 7,286 people. So the people who were on a diet who lost the least amount of weight compared to those losing the most amount of weight in 12 months, the only difference was 10 ounces in 12 months. And the average weight loss, again, in a year was 16 pounds, and up to 40% of what they lost was lean muscle mass. See, I don't care what diet you're on. You're losing up to 40% of your lean muscle mass. And 2 of the most unhealthy things on earth are happening to you. Number one, because it's the brain sensing, doesn't have anything to do with calories, has to do with nutrition. So when the body senses is not enough, because all the organs in your body run on nutrition, they don't run on calories. So when the brain senses not enough nutrition, it panics, goes into starvation mode, immediately shuts down fat burning, and then goes and looks for nutrition. And where does it find it? In our muscles. So it converts your muscles into carbohydrates to fuel the body. Well, you think that's okay. It's not. Because in so doing, the body doesn't have a choice, the brain. It has to slow down metabolism. There's not enough fuel to distribute to all the organs, so it slows down metabolism. Well, you slow down metabolism, by definition, what are you doing? You can't burn as many calories. I'm just using calories as a measurement, okay? You're really not for fuel, okay? That's the fuel you're using. But the other thing it does by losing lean muscle mass, according to my cancer doctor, who's one of the top oncologists in the world, is the last thing you ever want a cancer patient to do is to lose weight. Because, again, when they lose weight, they're losing lean muscle mass. And by losing lean muscle mass, it slows down our immune system. So is your diet doing something for you? Or is it doing something to you? It's doing something to you. Now, you may not pay the price today, but all those diets and all the time, many of you have yodered. I talked to a lady today. She said, I've been on every single diet out there. And I can't tell you how much weight she lost in what time period because I get banned, they think. But if you go to the website, you'll see before and afters. You will swear we photoshopped them. People lost 100 pounds with no loose skin. No diet does that. It's just really a matter of our job is to make you aware. That's why we provide you with that free website where you can go, right? What food left is healthy? Go cure diabetes. Did I say anything about a cure? What? Yeah, I mean, you're suggesting go cure. Well, okay, it's interesting that you said that, Roy. In the medical studies, they had diabetics that were monitored by their doctors. And if you know about, maybe, I don't know if you have it or you don't have it, but in order to lower blood sugar in the body, if you have type 1 or type 2, if you don't know about anything like this, you take a medication. So it could be glucophage, metformin, or insulin. What does it do? It drives down the blood sugar. Okay, it sounds like a good thing. But in every case, when blood sugar goes down, insulin goes up. That's why diabetics have such a terrible time losing weight. Okay, number one, the chemist who invented this more than 25 years ago was a diabetic. Let's just start with that. But in the medical studies, this is not speculation on my part. This isn't a commercial. This is what they observed. The people in the studies, in the first 30 days, their blood sugar came down not 10%, 10 points. But for the first time in history, insulin came down 41% in 30 days. Never seen before. As a matter of fact, the doctors monitoring their patients after less than 30 days had to cut their medication by 50% because their blood sugar was dropping so much. And if you drop it too much, you can cause, you don't want to go into a diabetic coma. That's really a bad thing with the blood sugar dropping too low. So I'm not saying anything about a cure, but if we could just take type 1 or 2 diabetics and they could lessen the amount of medication they need, that would certainly be a huge win. But talk to an internist, talk to an endocrinologist, talk to any of those doctors, and most of the time they'll tell people, if you could lose weight, you probably need less medication. But they don't know how to tell them how to lose the weight, and more importantly, how do you lose the weight and keep it off? Like I said, well, you maybe weren't on when I talked about that, Roy. I lost 40 pounds 21 years ago. I've kept it off for 21 years. My thing, I was facing, according to my doctor, I had about 18 months to live with a cholesterol of 400, triglycerides in the 300s, and I was 40 pounds overweight. So he put me on diet, exercise, and Lipitor. I lost 8 pounds in 8 weeks, but my cholesterol only came down about 15 points in 8 weeks. He said, I can't give you any more meds. So a friend of mine who played professional football for the Oakland Raiders turned me on to this. I lost 8 pounds in 4 days. I lost 12 pounds in 9 days, 20 pounds in 18 days, 30 pounds in 30 days, lost 40 pounds in 7 weeks. I went from a 42 to a 34-inch waist, which I still am today, 21 years later. But I went back 8 weeks later. So I had the first 8 weeks, the second 8 weeks, I didn't even take any meds. And he said, are you trying to kill yourself? I said, what's wrong? Well, what do you mean? He said, well, the lab made a mistake. I said, I haven't touched Lipitor in 8 weeks. And again, I'm not suggesting that to any of you. We don't treat, cure, diagnose, make any medical claims. I'm just telling you my story, right? So anyway, my cholesterol went, this is in 7 weeks, from, well, actually 8 weeks to be, the next week I did the blood work, so 8 weeks. I lost, my cholesterol went from 400 to 120. My triglycerides went from 300 to 30. I lost 40 pounds, and my heart attack risk dropped from 85 to 15. I really believe I'm alive today because of this. See, that's not a diet. I mean, the 40 pounds was great, of course, but that was the least important part. So imagine if you could lose as much weight in a week as safely as in 8 weeks of a diet without any water loss and without losing lean muscle mass. In 30 days, lose as much weight as you could in a year, and again, gain 6 to 9% lean muscle mass, lose no water weight. Would you be curious? Would you be interested? And you can go to our website. No, intermittent fasting, sorry, Roy, does not. Okay, let me give you the medical proof, okay? This is New England Journal of Medicine, all right? They did a 12-month study on intermittent fasting compared to just lowering calories, okay? Let me explain to you what happened. This is not my opinion, okay? I don't give you opinions. There's plenty of people out there, maybe you're following them, that are influencers telling you about intermittent fasting, etc. Have they showed you one shred of medical evidence? Here's the medical evidence. 12-month study, 2 groups of people. One people just lowered calories. The other people did intermittent fasting for 12 months. Okay, in the study, the people who did calorie restriction lost 16 pounds in a year. Those people doing intermittent fasting lost 12.6 pounds in a year. And then it said in both those doing calorie restriction and intermittent fasting lost up to 40% of their lean muscle mass. Another study done in the Journal of the American Medical Association. It was a shorter study, but it was very recent, where it was 90 days, and this is what they found. It was based on intermittent fasting. They call it time-restricted eating, where you don't eat for 16, you eat for 8. I'm reading from the study. The people who went on intermittent fasting for 90 days gained almost no benefit from it, and in 3 months, they lost 2 to 3.5 pounds, and the majority of what they lost was not fat, but lean muscle mass. Sorry to tell you, that's what you're losing on intermittent fasting. I don't care what they're telling you. They have nothing to back up what they're saying. Anecdotal stories, before and afters, they're interesting. Now, I can say that because I wrote 4 best-selling books. I've appeared 20 times on PBS, interviewed on the 4 biggest daytime shows in America. I did over 1,500 live lectures around the world at universities, in hospitals, and even in China, right? But for 20 of my years, it meant nothing in the medical world. Now, there are 7 new peer-reviewed studies on this new protocol, which is not a diet. It's called R2M. It stands for Race to Maintenance. It was done by the top weight loss nutritionists, physiologists in the world who for 38 years have done 150 studies on every diet out there, including intermittent fasting. And there was no doubt whether it was intermittent fasting, whether it was paleo, keto, people lost weight. But every time when they measured, every single time, people lost up to 40% of the lean muscle mass, and every time the people gained at least as much weight as they lost or more. So Harvard Medical School, right here again, they said, stop counting calories. The idea of a calorie in, calorie out when it comes to weight loss is not only antiquated, it's just wrong. They said instead of worrying about how much food we're consuming, we need to worry about what's in the food. Now let's go to another big study. I'm just reading from the study. I'm not making anything up for your benefit, Roy. I'm just reading it from the studies. This is medical proof, not hyperbole, not an opinion from an influencer just giving you an opinion, right? The title of this is why you should not count calories. Truth is, calorie counting is a terrible approach for weight loss. While counting calories and restricting calories can help you lose weight in the short term, the approach has never been proven to keep weight off long term. What's even worse, 2/3 of people who try to count or restrict their calories will gain back more weight than they lost. Oh, that was the other thing in the New England Journal of Medicine study. The follow-up about 6 months later, the people gained, even though it was a pitiful amount, 16 pounds in a year on lowering calories and 12 pounds or 12.6 pounds on intermittent fasting. The people gained all the weight back. Look, right now, Roy, we have 80% of America overweight, 50% obese, 50% of Americans are pre-diabetic. Now, if that's not bad enough, here's a study done in Johns Hopkins. They just came out with this and said study predicts obesity apocalypse by 2030. In less than 6 years, they're saying if the current trend continues, 86% of Americans will be overweight or obese by 2030. Do you really think what you're doing is going to work? Now, I'm not arguing that you probably have results short term, but do you see the whole damn thing's collapsing? We're redefining the definition of we're in a box, whether it's intermittent fasting, whether it's paleo, keto, Mediterranean, lose weight for your blood type, Atkins, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Nutrisystem. Do you know the numbers are going like this? Because in 2018, 6 years ago, only 42% of America was obese. Now it's 50%, and total of 80%. But they're saying in less than 6 years, we're going to go to 86% overweight. And of that, I guarantee it's going to be more than 50% are obese. For the first time in recorded history, more people are obese than overweight. None of these diets work. It's a joke. I wrote the definitive book with a lot of pushback 14 years ago, why diets are failing us. And we said the same thing. Why are we counting calories when the human body doesn't know what a calorie is? When you're hungry, you're not hungry for calories. You're hungry for nutrition. And the sad part is, if you're doing something like intermittent fasting, whatever food you're ingesting in that time window, and no matter what they say, you're reducing the amount of food you're consuming. But the food's almost nutritionally bankrupt. My gosh, if a bowl of spinach from 1953, iron levels, today they estimate the nutritional value of a bowl of spinach iron levels has decreased by 4,300% since 1953. What are we doing? The other thing you're completely deficient in are what are called trace ionic minerals. We need 70, and the best organic, you're getting 20. Now, wait a minute. So you understand, it wouldn't matter how much you're consuming, there's only 20 out of the 70 that we need in the food. So you keep eating. I'm not saying you, but in general, people, because the body's saying, give me more nutrition, not more calories. How much? I mean, imagine, why in the heck If you could lose as much weight in 7 days as 8 weeks of any diet, guys lose anywhere between 2 and 8 inches, 6 inches off their waist in 7 days with no exercise. By the way, the people in these studies, no one was allowed to exercise. And yet they gained 6 to 9% lean muscle mass with no exercise. There's no time, intermittent fasting, paleo, keto, Mediterranean. It's almost like silly. That's why they're saying, the experts, that essentially this breakthrough, this new protocol, it's not new, it was invented. These guys started doing the clinical studies about 3 years ago, and it takes a long time. Oh, I should follow up. So they had people in here, one guy I know lost like 150 pounds. He's kept it off for 3 years. Everybody in the studies has pretty much kept their weight off for more than 3 years. So it's not a flash in the pan. But the main reason to do it is not to lose weight. The main reason to do it is to deal with this medical syndrome, Roy, which you and me and everybody in the world has. TDOS. Intermittent fasting doesn't have zero impact on that, never been measured. T is for toxicity, D is for nutritional deficiency, O for overweight, and S is for stress. It's a registered trademark U.S. Patent Office. What that means is when you submit, like I did because I made this discovery, to the patent office, they search the world to find if there's anything even similar, especially in the medical world. They won't grant you that little R if there's anything even similar. I discovered this. And unfortunately, every single person in the world, including every person on this podcast, you have TDOS syndrome, whether you want to believe it or not. So again, I've already gone an hour. So anyway, Roy, hopefully that makes sense to you. What the researchers did in conclusion, they allowed people 40% of the food from the grocery store. They gave them a list. It was organic. So they had, proteins, fats, carbs, and fruit. But the other 60% came from 5 food groups from around the world. For example, one of the sources had all 70 minerals, not 20, okay? The other thing that they had, and this is really important for everybody to understand, one of the big misconceptions they're telling you about weight loss, you got to consume more protein, do like 120 or 150 grams of protein a day. That now has been blown to smithereens by a big new analysis in Europe called net nitrogen utilization. What does it mean in English? It means, and this may shock some of you, protein itself the only reason we consume it is not for the protein. It's for what's inside the protein. Think of protein like a walnut shell. Inside the protein are the 20 amino acids. 9 are essential, meaning you have to get them from your diet. The other 11 are non-essential. But every protein from a plant or an animal has all 20 amino acids, okay? So this is something like for people on the carnivore, why we support them in the carnivore, but the carnivore still leaves you really insufficient. Here's why. When they did the analysis in Europe, or figured it out through blood, stool, urine, and fat analysis, they could tell you when you ingested a protein from a plant or an animal, you got all 20 aminos. That sounds good. No, they could measure what percentage of the 20 was the body using. Plant-based proteins, believe it or not, the absorption or the use was only 10% out of 100. All meat, steak, chicken, liver, fish that you'd be on if you're doing intermittent fasting or carnivore or whatever is only 30% absorption. What's not absorbed is turned into toxins. They have a name. They're called nitrogen catabolites that the kidneys have to get rid of. That's why, God forbid you ever had a friend on kidney dialysis, they don't want to have any protein at all, right? So what the researchers did, they found a source where the absorption of the amino acids was 91%. See, part of their theory was, could we lower the amount of food that people consumed, but not lower the amount of nutrition? That was just one example where they had a source. Think of it. You'd have to eat 3 times as much steak, chicken, liver, or fish to get that level of amino acids. But the other problem is you also would produce threefold increase in the toxins that the kidneys had to get rid of. It's like your car. If you could buy gas today, instead of going 20 miles on 1 gallon, you could go 100 miles, a lot less wear and tear. Your car would last longer. You'd have less emissions. We'd have less pollution. Everybody'd be happier. But the body's the same way. The longevity studies have always said the least amount of food you can consume, potentially the longer you're going to live. But the fallacy in that, when you're reducing or relying on regular food, as you reduce the quantity, you're reducing the nutrition, the body, it will burn your muscles. It won't burn fat. It's just that simple. It's not some theory on my part. This is what all the scientists are saying. So I hope that this has been useful to all of you. I hope you will go. I'm going to put the website out there one last time so you can all see it. It's free to go there. I'm going to also show it to you here in just a moment. Here's the website. There's nothing to buy there. None of my books. It's not a trick to get you, oh, you got to buy his book to find out what they did. Everything's laid out for you. There's an interview with the #1 nutritional researcher. Well, he's not just a nutritional researcher, weight loss. He's one of the top physiologists. He led the scientific team for 38 years that have analyzed, well, they did 150 studies, thousands and thousands of people on diets, and just came to the conclusion, whatever we're doing, it's not working. And then that's how they came up with this new protocol that now has the only peer-reviewed human trial studies in the world behind it. Now, why is a peer-reviewed study such a big deal? Well, first of all, no drug ever gets approved without a peer-reviewed human trial. Not mice, not rats, not a petri dish, not a scientific paper, but a peer-reviewed human trial study. So what happens in their case, they submitted their data to something like, let's say, the Obesity Journal, one of the top medical journals in the world. And then the Obesity Journal, what I found that was really fascinating, the Obesity Journal determines if they're going to publish it in their publication. The Obesity Journal sends it out to other world-class people who pay, like medical doctors and research scientists who are only one job, and that's to disprove what you're claiming. That's why no drug will ever get approved without a peer-reviewed human trial study. So it's not like the drug companies, you can just come out with a drug and now you can take it. It goes through the peer-reviewed process. This is the only protocol in the world that's backed by 7 peer-reviewed human trial studies. Any other styles that the studies I've stated today, like in my books, were not initiated by like time-restricted eating or intermittent fasting or paleo or keto or Mediterranean or Jenny Craig or Weight Watchers, et cetera. Because here's the problem. If you submit your data and then they do the analysis and it doesn't match up with what you're claiming, they publish the bad results. Unless you think it's great to do a year on a diet of lowering calories and you lose 16 pounds in a year, or do intermittent fasting and you lose 12.6 pounds in a year, and they say right in the study that 40% of the weight loss on both calorie restriction and time-restricted eating, up to 40% was lean muscle mass. You think that's good or you think that's bad? So anyway, everyone, I try to do, I shouldn't say try, I normally do between 2 and 4 of these a day, probably starting around 11 Eastern, and then maybe every couple hours, including a later one like I'm doing right now, because we feel that you have the right to see the medical proof. If you go to that website, which you can see right there, the New Health Conversation, all right, we won't contact you. So don't think you're going to go there and we're going to call you, because no, we don't need to do that. We don't do that. But if you like what you see, scroll down to the bottom and it says, sign up for a free personal consultation. Not somebody an 800 number trying to convince you or a bait and switch. It's simply one of our coaches who've done the protocol and who have also been trained by us to answer all your questions. Because honestly, we don't know anything about you. What if you want to gain weight? We have Olympic athletes. We have CrossFit people. We have triathletes. We have kids as young as 2 doing part of it, and 90-year-olds doing it. And also, what if anybody is on any medical? What if you've got high blood pressure? What if you have blood sugar? See, that's what I don't like. When these people, 3 recipes to lose weight. Well, wait a minute. If you're a diabetic, that should be a little bit different than if you're someone with high blood pressure or someone that has maybe thyroid issues or whatever it is. And we're not treating, diagnosing, making any medical claims at all. So don't go down that road. I want to stay within the legitimacy of all of this. I let the medical studies do the talking. I know I've been doing a lot of talking, but I'm just painting the picture for you. And again, I'll show you one more time the website. There's nothing to buy there. The only thing there is the medical proof for you to take your time, to not be harassed, that no one's going to call you. Is there anybody else that any of you know of on social media that's offering you a medical website with medical proof? And then can you do a free personal consultation with them? I've never seen it. It sounds good. Whoa, we're going to try to lose 20 pounds. Really? What 20 pounds are they losing, though? And how are they doing it? And where's the medical proof? And oh, by the way, what are you doing about removing the chemicals we're storing inside our body with this medical syndrome, toxicity, deficiency, overweight, and stress syndrome? Registered trademark, U.S. Patent Office. With all due respect, they don't have anything like that. And what do we keep doing? We keep thinking that somehow this new magical keto, paleo, time-restricted eating is going to be the magic for weight loss. And yet the numbers just keep increasing in overweight and obesity. And 50% of Americans are pre-diabetic, and 9 out of 10 are metabolically unhealthy. What are we doing? Seriously, what are we doing? All we wanted to do was give you a safe place to go to make you aware. We're not in the selling or convincing business. We don't do that. We don't have to do that because we're the only ones on that I know of. And there are people with all kinds of credentials after their name, and they're telling you about buy this and buy. It's not one shred of medical evidence. Same stuff, you see this stuff like the supplements things on TV. Well, it's scientifically tested. That doesn't mean a damn thing, pardon my French. Unless it goes through a human, peer-reviewed human trial, it means nothing. It means zero. This is the only one in the world that's gone through that process. Number one, to ensure it was safe. Oh, the other thing I didn't even tell all of you in closing. Not only do you get a free coach, but the program itself, 40% of your dollars from your food budget that you're spending now, you're not spending any more, you buy food from the grocery store, 40%. The other 60% are these 5 foods. Most people tell me when they look at their total food budget that it either is the same as what they're spending because only 40% is coming from the grocery store. And these 60% of the other foods, even though they have massive amounts of nutrition, they're not much more than the food that we're consuming that's nutritionally bankrupt. Maybe 50, maybe 70, maybe $100 more a month, depends on their food budget. I'm being as open as I can be. Because again, we have people who want to gain weight. Well, that's a different program than someone, I have a young man now, he's 32 years old, did weigh 650 pounds. Well, he's probably going to be on this for more than a month. I'm just kidding you. He really is. I mean, he's having unbelievable results. And if you go to the website, you'll see before and afters. You will swear we photoshopped him. You will. We didn't Photoshop him. There are people that lost 100 pounds with no loose skin. Go see for yourself. And in particular, watch the interview with the #1 nutritional researcher, weight loss, and physiologist in the world for 38 years, who he and his team did over 150 studies on every diet out there. There's also a 20-minute explanation. It's called the Blueprint for Success because, that's the other thing. We give you daily videos, but you get a live coach as well, but it shows you exactly this is when you eat, how much you eat, when you eat. It's all laid out. It's not a recipe. These people, I heard one today, well, we've got 300 recipes on there. Yeah, 300 recipes on food that's nutritionally bankrupt. Great. No, I'm serious. That's what it boils down to. Our food in this country is becoming more and more nutritionally deficient. We've got all these calories with very little nutrition. So, Mandeline, thank you. And Roy, and Roy, please don't get mad at me. I'm just giving you the science, all right? I'm just saying to you that the medical proof of any diet, whether it's intermittent fasting, et cetera, is pretty uninspiring, okay? So I'm Gucci Mama. All right, you've been on a bunch of times, Gucci Mama. Thanks for returning. So I'm going to end this podcast now. Good. Okay. Well, I'm glad, Gucci Mama. I guess you were interested. Did you get a chance, Gucci Mama, to go to our website, the New Health Conversation, which I'll put it in there again for everybody. There we go. And I'm not sure what seems to check well, but obviously you came back, so you must have liked what I was saying. But again, I hope you had a chance to go to the New Health Conference. Oh, good. And did you like what you saw, Gucci Mama? I don't know Gucci Mama, everybody, so I'm not paying her to come on. Whatever she's going to say, she's going to say. If she said she didn't like it, she'll say she didn't like it. We don't filter people. That's not part of what we do. I'm just curious, Gucci Mama, what you thought of the site, and was it everything that I said it was in terms of the medical proof and everything that was on there? Oh, love it. Okay. I know you all think I set this up. I didn't. I did not set it up. Gucci Mama, please tell them I didn't know you were going to be on here. I don't know you. I've never met you. You just saw me on TikTok, and we don't pre-stage these things because we don't have to. That's really funny. That's really funny in a good way. I'm just going to wait and see if she responds back to us, okay? because it says, I know it's also going out pre-recorded, so that's why I mean, it'll get downloaded to other sites that don't let me go live for whatever reason. But yeah, so Gucci Mama was, I don't know you. You saw me on, I didn't convince you to come on here and say anything. So I just want the audience to know that before we close it out, if you'd be kind enough. Yeah. And obviously you saw Gucci Mama that the people gained 6 to 9% lean muscle and the before and afters with no loose skin. So, well, thank you very much, Gucci Mama. I appreciate your feedback and input. For the rest of you, I hope you have, see, this goes all over the world, so I never know what to say. Should I say good night? Should I say good morning? Should I say good afternoon? I mean, there's all these time zones, obviously. We got people in, we've had, people from far away as Japan and Australia, Finland, I mean, Spain, I mean, all over the world. So anyway, I just say this. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will invite any of you to go to that website. I'm going to put up there one more time for everybody, the New Health Conversation, and go see for yourself like Gucci Mama did. It's free to go there. There's no tricks, okay? So I'm going to end this podcast now, everyone, and enjoy the rest of day, night, afternoon, wherever you are, okay? Thank you, everyone.